Do you want to chat about what happened in the chapter? Because I can get the chapter up and you want to have a skim
Yeah,
through
yeah.
it
I've
quickly.
been reading it while we've been talking.
Oh, okay.
Come on,
Me
I multitask.
multitasking, I can't do that. I can't even read. So, One Piece chapter 131. Loki of the Underworld. So I've got a couple things to say about this chapter, yeah. More so, okay, where are you in the chapter right so far right now?
So I am where Loki is shouting at Luffy saying, "Hey, I'm talking to you."
Okay, I'm talking to you.
For some reason, I don't know what's going on. Is that where I'm trying to read it? I don't want to be copywritten, so I'm not going to say where. But yeah, Loki is not really happy with Luffy.
So when you see a bounty, let me know because I've
Yeah, I
got
can
a
see his
couple things
bounty.
to. You
I
can
can
see
see
it's
his
not
bounty.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say a couple things about this bounty, but I think I got an issue with it. And what's his bounty? 2.6
6 billion, which for me I don't like because you're a subordinate to someone on. You're a subordinate to someone that's Luffy's subordinate. So how's your bounty close to Luffy's?
for real. The main problem I have with this bounty is with Older, right? What Older's been doing, we know he's been upscaling a lot of people recently, right? So a lot of the former warlords have been upscaled. Crocodile, maybe not Mihawk because we kind of assumed he was one of the strongest anyway, but Crocodile, Boa Hancock, they've all been upscaled. So their bounties have been paused and they're roughly around the 100 mark, 200, 300, that market, and it's been upscaled to like a billion plus, which it makes sense, kind of. But do you know the problem with that is remember when we first found out about the first £1 billion person, which was Katakuri, right? It was such a big deal, and now we probably got about a dozen people that have a billion plus berry bounties. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Now we've got like a dozen, and it's taken away from what Whitebeard and Big Mom and Kaido and Roger, because their bounties were only roughly around ranging around 3 to 5 billion, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And to find out that Loki's bounty is 2.6, only half of maybe Rogers or Shanks's and
But
stuff. And
if you look at the bounty, it says special world government bounty. So
I know. So
I
what do you think
reckon
about
that
that?
whenever Loki was out on sea, I have a theory that because he was claiming to be Nico and knows the existence of Nico, that in itself is a special threat to the world government.
Okay. Because he claims to be the sun god.
Yeah, but that in itself is a special threat. So
Okay. So it's more to do.
it's more
Do
to
you
do with
think it
his
has anything to
knowledge.
do with Devil Fruit or just the
No,
knowledge?
I don't think it's to do with his devil fruit. I think it's to do with his knowledge of Nika and him claiming to be Nika, and he probably has done some destructive stuff. So he probably
So it's a
is quite,
combination of all of this.
yeah. So I believe he might be a little bit powerful, but not 2.6 billion powerful.
Hmm.
But I reckon his knowledge on top of it of the existence of Nika is enough for the world government to give him a high bounty.
Hmm.
So because right now, if Luffy knew he was Nika, his bounty would not be 3 billion. It would be way higher.
Hmm. Of course.
If he knew he was Nika, his bounty would be close to Rogers and maybe even past Rogers.
Hmm. But do you understand what I'm kind of coming from? If you
Yeah,
kind of take away that part, that we're getting a lot of people who are going into the billions, which kind of makes sense because upscaling, but then it's taken away a little bit from the big boys like the Whitebeards, the Rogers, etc., because it's some people, some of us aren't,
So,
some of
so,
these
so
pirates
do you know
aren't
what
that
it
far
is?
away.
So do you know what it is as well? Is that I got a theory is that Rogers, Whitebeards, and everything is their bounties. I don't believe they could have been shown in today's value in terms of what it would have been had they
But
been in the prime.
Whitebeard was still alive, only up until about 2 years ago.
Yeah, but it wasn't prime Whitebeard. And you got to think is this era is way more dangerous.
Shanks, Kaido.
Yeah. So I reckon Shanks' bounty will go up at some point. I reckon at some point Shanks will have a high bounty. I believe that Dragon probably has the highest bounty in the whole of One Piece.
Of course, which they've said.
So I believe Dragon's bounty might even be around 6.
The problem with using numbers and figures, I know bounty doesn't necessarily equate to strength, but the problem with having figures
it
and
also
equate it to strength.
No, yeah, so that's what it's, but that's because we make the assumption, but it's not.
Of
It's
course,
the equation to it's the equation to threat level in terms of the knowledge
level. But
so
the problem but what I'm trying to say, you know, when you have numbers and you equate it to something, whether that's threat level or strength, is that we're gonna always assume you have to upscale. And you know the problem with upscaling, it can become a problem. You know, like the Shonen problem of always upscaling the villains.
I feel like
it becomes a problem.
But I feel like that's a fan problem more than a One Piece problem.
I think that's a fan problem because it starts to remind me a little bit of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, so for me, in my mind,
power levels and that, and they have to stop doing that.
In my mind, that's a fan problem more than a One Piece problem because never once has it said that bounties equate to strength. Because you got to think Nico Robin's bounty was due to her knowledge.
Even her bounty now is
still
high.
Due to knowledge. Her bounty now is still due to knowledge. It's so bounties were never actually given purely off of strength. Bounties are given. Your strength is a big factor, but so is your knowledge of the world and secrets that can hurt the world government.
What do you think with Nico Robin? Yeah, so the world government have always known that she has a certain amount of knowledge. Shouldn't she have already had a very, very, very high bounty to begin with, or just lower her bounty now? Do you know what I mean? I know her first bounty was 80 million. Was it 79 mil? I think it was 79 mil.
79 million, yeah, for an 8-year-old child.
For an 8-year-old child. But how much is her bounty now? It's around 800 million now, something like that.
I think she's just under the billion mark.
I know she's part of the Straw Hats, and I know it makes sense, but I think it's still too much. I think it's way too much.
Not because you got to think is that they're aware that the world government now knows that Luffy is Nico. They're aware that you've got someone who can read the poneglyphs and may be aware of the Void Century on Luffy's crew. Nico Robin is a high-level threat to the world government.
So you think it's all due to the fact that
they're aware that they're aware if she knows that Nico exists and that Luffy is Nico, she will make Luffy
based
aware.
Off this chapter, if you finish this chapter, she starts to put a little bit of things together.
Yeah.
So you basically answered my question.
Yeah, so I believe that Nico Robin's bounty is still based off of her knowledge. I believe if you take power levels out of it and take all the strengths out of it, Nico Robin is the most dangerous person to the world government in One Piece, besides Dragon.
Because I'm saying all of this, but this chapter, and based off what you said, basically answers my question to why it's justified, essentially, anyway.
Yeah, so I believe her bounty is justified, and you could even argue that it could be higher.
If it was higher,
if Nico Robin got a billion bounty, I would understand it because she is the biggest threat to the world government in the pirate industry.
Apart from Luffy, it should be her, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, because Luffy has the power. So Luffy
yes or no. Maybe not the most dangerous.
No. So what? No. So what I say is Luffy has the power to hurt them. Nico Robin has the knowledge to hurt them.
Okay.
That's why I say if her bounty was a billion, I wouldn't question it. Because she has the knowledge, and not only that, she can read poneglyphs. The further up the new world that she goes, she's only going to gain more knowledge and information. And now on top of it, they're aware that she just left Egghead's Island.
She's starting to put things together in this chapter.
Yeah, so I believe after Elbaf as well. Yeah, I'm still reading, but after Elbaf, she's going to get another bounty increase.
I think they've already got bounty increases because Dora and Brogy actually got bounty increases in this.
Yeah, so the Straw Hat Pirates might have had a bounty increase and we just haven't been told.
And we just haven't been told yet. But so what do you think about Dora and Brogy? Have you read Have you seen the increases? Have you seen that yet?
Is it in this chapter?
It's in this chapter.
Okay, because I am at the part where he is asking Luffy to free him, basically.
Okay. I can
But
tell you what the bounty increases are if you
let,
want, or you want to
me,
wait for it.
let me find out myself. Don't spell
Okay.
my fun.
Because that's when that hasn't maybe talk about that because it's something it kind of makes sense, but then you could let's have you read it first before
Yeah.
we
So
start talking.
so Luffy's in the underworld. That's interesting. So it's that place is a
Quote
prison.
unquote, quote unquote.
That's actually interesting and kind of fun.
Why is it interesting?
Hmm. The primordial world. Oh, so it's tying into Norse mythology quite a lot.
Yeah. Funny because I've been playing a lot of God of War recently, so
Oh, brother,
my knowledge.
I tried to play the Valhalla
Yeah, what are
deal.
you saying about that? What's that saying?
Oh, it's the most annoying thing in the world. Once you die, you go all the way back to the beginning, no matter what. So to complete Valhalla, you gotta go through the same things over and over and over, like 12 times.
So you basically need to be at a certain level to
And you cannot
complete it
die.
without dying.
Yeah, and you cannot die, otherwise you go back to the start. And
That's the DLC, isn't it?
yeah, and the enemies are ridiculously powerful.
What type of guys are in it? What type of enemies?
All of them. So it's a mixture of all the enemies that you fought in the main game in one place with Bifrost abilities.
Damn, damn, damn.
And then on top of it, then you're now fighting Norse legends. No, Viking legends, sorry.
You know what's funny? Because you know the video that I uploaded today about the Giants being weak?
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny because this chapter kind of just nullifies the stuff that me and Darryl were saying. So
No,
it kind of was so funny.
the Giants were never a weak race.
I still think they're
You lot would never have
somewhat
been able
weak,
to make
but it's
that video
because
if I was allowed. If I was around. What?
no, but do you know what it is? The Giants are weak, but they've been upscaled.
I don't think
They've
they've
been
been
upscaled
upskilled. You got to think this
because
is.
think of it like this. Think of it like this. Dory and Brody were meant to be the top tiers
Yeah.
of, but when we saw them at Thingy Island way back pre-time skip, they weren't that impressive. Do you know what I mean? And even now, they're still not really that impressive. But we're led to believe that these guys are meant to be the strongest race, and these guys and Dorian Brody are meant to be like one of the leading men. Like, does that make sense? Like, if you
Yeah.
think about how
But you got
strong
to think.
humans are, right?
But let
Hold
me
on.
put it this way: before Elbath, we only saw Dorian Broggy fighting without Haki. Haki wasn't a thing back then, and then every other giant we saw before then was a small fry who didn't seem to have any power. The giants we saw,
But that's an
and
upscale. They've been
and
upscaled.
then every other giant we saw since then worked for the Marines who always end up getting one shot.
Upscaled. Like the
Yeah,
Giants have basically been upscaled.
yeah. So we've never seen a full power giant fight.
But you could say that about like Crocodile, for example. Like Crocodile wasn't actually
Yeah.
strong pre-time skip,
Yeah,
but he
so
was
now,
upscaled.
we don't know how strong Crocodile is now. What we do know is he could potentially be Yonko level, same way we know Mihawk could be Yonko level.
But that's just upscaling because think about it. Really,
But
I'm not saying the Giants are
I
weak
believe
because on
Mihawk
paper
was
the Giants should be the strongest.
yeah
But
no.
based off what they've actually shown us,
The
they're not.
biggest doesn't always mean the strongest. So they was never the strongest race, but they're by no means a weak race.
But according to everyone else in the world, in the One Piece world, they're the strongest race.
Because I believe that unless you
Big
are
Mom, if you watch the video, we even said that Big Mom also used to say that if the Giants were under her control, she would have already found the One Piece. So a lot of people within One Piece are basically
yeah.
claiming that the Giants
So
are the guys.
I believe if you can unite the giants, you do have potentially one of the most powerful armies in the world.
Of course,
Because
on
I
paper.
think is that you got to assume that where Elbath is, every giant or every other giant has high levels of haki and high control of haki. So I believe that's probably why I reckon as a unit with how many of them there is, and I reckon that one giant is enough to destroy an island.
Yeah, like what we said in the video, is that if you think about how strong some of these humans have gotten, if these giants train or are even at a similar level but on a bigger scale, there's no way that any human, any race of people should be able to even stand up against the giants, even pre-time skip. But that wasn't the case when we saw them. Of course, when we see them in battle
Mhm.
now, it's not going to be that. But based off pre-time skip and everything we've seen, like even post-time skip, we've seen. I can't say his name. The giant that's under Luffy. He's weak.
Yeah.
He's really weak. Based off what we've seen, the Giants haven't done shit. They ain't shit. But on paper, they are meant to be so devastated. No one should be able to stand up to them. We've seen Garp and Aokiji and even that bum Kobe using battleships as punching bags. This giant yeah should be able to dash this shit. Yeah, and just kill everyone.
Yeah.
On paper, anyway, this is just on paper. This is like I understand they should be the strongest, and they probably are the strongest. But based off what we've seen, they ain't done shit. They ain't shit. Dorian Broga meant to be one of the strongest dudes, and I know they've been upscaled, but they ain't. But they aren't that strong, really.
Hmm. Maybe. But also, from what it looks like as well, is I just seen what they're talking about Shanks and Luffy got pissed instantly.
Mm.
You don't let no one talk about Shanks, man.
Just to control his emotions when I was moving like one girl. I wonder if Loki, not necessarily panicking, but is shows his strength. I know that's not enough to really show how strong you are, but you don't really want a guy who looks as because he's got a really cool character design. You don't want a guy who looks as cool as that, who claims to be as strong as he is and has the bounty that to be reacting to Luffy's attack like that.
Mm-hmm.
So is he strong? Is he strong? I don't know. What do you think? He dodged it.
Yeah, I think he's strong, but not enough that Shanks. It sounds like Shanks beat him.
Yeah. But Shanks would probably beat everyone. So
Yeah, true. But I don't think he's even a challenge for Luffy. In all honesty,
and I wonder what his devil fruit is because the way he was talking about himself, he was he was glazing himself, bro.
you got to
Glazing.
think if he goes by the name Loki, you got to think of who is Loki and what his powers are.
Exactly.
So I reckon he's a trickster, and I reckon he probably has the ability to shapeshift or something.
Hmm.
So
I
I
still need to
reckon,
finish God of War, man. I'll
I
play that
reckon,
today as well.
yes, I reckon he has the ability to shapeshift and transform into anything that he wants.
Yeah,
So
put
I
that in for me.
reckon, or it may tie into one of other Loki's other more abilities. But I do reckon he isn't Nico. But I reckon he is a clown that likes to lie and manipulate people like Loki did.
If it is a devil fruit similar to that, I can see why he would be seen as a very dangerous.
Yeah.
It's one of them fruits, not
I
necessarily the
reckon,
same as Luffy's fruit, but it's a fruit that requires some form of creativity, some
yeah.
form of,
I reckon
you know
it
what I mean?
could be, and I reckon it may have some illusionary effect as well.
It's an illusionary effect.
Because Loki was good with illusions.
But with his fruit, it's assuming it is something to do with the powers that we know Loki has from other media, right? Isn't that somewhat similar to not the Nika fruit, but it ties into the creativity of of Nico, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
that's partially part of the reason why he claims to be who he is.
Maybe, actually. Oh shit! Look at how is it Harjuden? I can never pronounce this dude's name.
Difficult name. Kadrudin.
Yeah,
Karudin.
look at Luffy's subordinate. One
And
of the
if you look at
we forget. Yeah, he's one of the. What number captain is he of the Grand Fleet?
what numbers, I don't know.
Yeah,
I forget. What did these guys have numbers?
yeah. I remember there's 7 captains. All of the captains were numbered.
I forget. But
On what
what was
number?
I gonna say about him? What number? But Hydrudin, I assume that's how you say his name.
Yeah,
He's meant to be the captain.
yeah. He's the captain of the
He's
new
weak.
Nah. Well, actually, Luffy did kind of rock his chin.
He's weak. Dressrosa, Luffy one shot him.
Luffy shot him with
Dressrosa,
armament
Luffy.
haki, not even conquer.
Gear 2 Armament Haki Luffy one shot this man. These giants are weak. And they're gonna upscale him so much here that we're gonna have to believe that these guys are the strongest.
Oh shit! Robin's gone for a childhood look.
Yeah, she's looking like a nice young babes. Kind of random though, but I'm assuming they've done this because of Soul, probably.
Yeah. Wait, is this the latest chapter with Robin's haircut?
Yeah, that's the latest chapter.
Oh, so I thought you said their bounties was in this chapter.
It is.
Where?
Still got a little bit long. Still got a little bit left.
What, after Robin's haircut?
Yeah. Still a couple more pages.
He got Dorian Bruggs with my hairstyles. Okay, right. Yeah, I read that bit. Then they can see the island. No, my bit, unless I'm missing pages.
Did you read last week's chapter?
Was it last week's?
Because I read both of these chapters
It might have been
within the
last
past.
week.
Damn, you haven't even read last week's, have you?
I did read last week's. The One Piece was on a break last week, wasn't it? When Luffy jumped
That's
off
what
the...
I thought. It's meant to be a 2-week break, but
Yeah, when Luffy jumped off the mountain. I swear that was last
that
week.
means you've missed last week's chapter.
No, last week's was the one where Luffy jumped off the cliff.
I need to try to find this out.
The last chapter before this one was when Luffy jumped off the bridge to meet Loki. Oh yeah,
So it
Broly and
says
Doggy, yeah, their bounties was in last week's. Yeah, that's why.
or was it
It was
last
in the
week's?
yeah.
So 1.8, what do you think about that?
Well, we have no idea how strong they are.
Because, like I said, I don't think that that's strong, but I understand having their bounties
Yeah,
be upscaled. Just like if everyone else's bounties are upscaled, so should theirs. But 1.8 is a big bounty, bro. What do you think about that?
No, it is a big bounty, but you gotta think is that they're kind of famous in terms of not only among the pirates, but among the giants. And we don't know what kind of level of destruction they've caused over the years because they've lived over 100 years. So I reckon it's past damages as well as them now appearing back, and as well as them saving Luffy. Remember, all giants know of Nico. That's what makes them a threat.
Yeah.
Yep. All giants know of Nika's existence.
They do all know Nico's existence.
So this is something you have to take into consideration when looking at their bounty, is what is the value of just knowing of Nika's existence? So
What do you think about the chapter? What did you think of last week's chapter?
no, I
And
read
what did
that.
you
I
think
read
of
that
this week's
before the
chapter
break.
before we wrap up?
So that chapter there I read before the break. It was kind of weird to me that so they're running from 2 giants who happen to be looking for them to welcome them.
Yeah. which is typical One Piece, you know.
Yeah. I'm just like, plus I'm like, you got a Yonko crew. What the fuck what are you running for?
And look, they're weak here, but this is a big island. The big giants all stumping all over you. Like,
It's two giants, and Sanji's there. You had Sanji and Luffy.
Sanji, Luffy, Zoro's there. Everyone's there, man.
Yeah, you telling me the heavy hitters couldn't take out two giants?
Yeah, but you know, even though they're a Yonko crew, they can't just be out here running around, running amok. You know what I mean? They're still on another.
Can we please remind ourselves what Yonko crew we're talking about here?
These are the Straw Hats, man. These aren't bad guys, man, out here just trying to be bad
Yeah,
on
but
someone's side.
yeah, but when have you ever known them not to beat someone up when they feel threatened?
Look, yeah, I would be doing the same thing. I'll be running. I'll be hiding. These are giants. They need to scope out this place.
But I feel like eventually they will find out that the giants are part of their crew.
Of course, it's probably even going to be next chapter.
Yeah, I reckon so. So, but for me, that chapter there just felt like a nothing chapter. All that really happened was they learned about the new bounty of the giants, and Robin starting to figure out that Luffy might be Joy Boy. And if Robin figures out Luffy's Joy Boy, she will eventually tell Luffy exactly who he is properly. Because it's Luffy.
Probably Robin to be the one to. Jinbei knows about Joy Boy as well. Fun enough,
but he doesn't know that Luffy's Joy Boy.
But do you know this one thing that happened that I clocked in one of the episodes not too long ago when Luffy was fighting Lucci?
Yeah.
When Jinbei saw Luffy, he referred to Luffy as the liberator, that's the
Nico.
liberation Don. And I was thinking, is he meant to know about this? I don't know if this is a mistake or like it's almost like he saw Luffy and he knew exactly who he was. I don't know if it was a mistake or what.
Maybe Luffy, maybe Jinbei doesn't know that. Maybe Jinbei is aware of the legend of Nico.
I think he said the Warrior of Liberation. Let me actually try to find it. He said, "Isn't that the Warrior of Liberation?"
Yeah, but so maybe he hasn't put the correlation between the Warrior of Liberation and Sun God Nico.
Oh, so he probably thinks it's two different people.
Yeah. Whereas it's one person, and I feel like Robin's on the verge of figuring out that Luffy is Sun God Nico. And the Giants are fully aware that Luffy is Sun God Nico. That Dory and Brogy are fully aware that Luffy is Nico.
You would think there would be more of a reaction, but you know,
because they're aware that Luffy isn't aware of who he is.
Luffy is.
But it's a good chapter to come back to after the 2-week break.
Yeah, it's a decent chapter. A lot of an info dump with.
I feel like Luffy's gonna free Loki. It's obvious he's gonna want to try and find out where Shanks is. And then
is Shanks still on the island because we just assumed he left?
I remember I've been saying the whole time that Shanks is on the island waiting for Luffy. I've been saying it the whole time.
Yeah, you have.
Because I said he has to be on the island because my God, does Usopp need a power up from his dad?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about Usopp, man.